So how's it going? I finally got back from traveling, back in the States, working on the Corvette again, and I started putting the body panels back on it, and I suddenly realized that I still need to change the injectors, because there's no way I'm going to be putting down the 600 horse that I'm wanting without bigger injectors. So that in combination with needing to change where I'm tapping into the oil supply, I just decided I don't like tapping into it where the oil block is, because you're really dropping the oil supply to the motor. And I did some poking around online, and you can actually get a little fitting where you tap into the oil sending unit, screw the oil sending unit in, and supply oil to the turbos that way. So that's what I'm going to be working on today. I need to pull the intake manifold off to get to the oil sending unit, and because I need to change my injectors anyway, and half of what it takes to pull the intake manifold off is to disconnect the fuel rail. So that is what I'm going to be doing today. Wish me luck. So another reason that I stopped putting the fenders on and started messing with the injectors and stuff is because I wanted to take the intake out so I could, put that oil tap in. Well, I decided to run my oil pressure line through here, and I'm actually going to have to take that out and run it, route it differently to get to the oil, tap into the oil supply where I want to. So basically what I did was took the oil cooler piping out and replaced it with a block. I think you can see that. And so that's what's been getting me by for the time being. But now that I've got the fitting ordered, the fitting that I ordered has arrived now, and I've got the intake manifold off, now I'm going to reroute that oil line to tap into the oil where I wanted it to. The fitting was really expensive. It was like $40, and it took it like 3 weeks to get here. But I really like that better than tapping into my oil cooler line, so we'll see if that does any better. But this is going to be the final product. This is just where I'm going to have it, whether oil pressure drops, whether, whatever. But I really want to have my oil cooler, and I really don't like tapping into it right there. I think it just drops the oil pressure too much. So I'm going to try it here and see what happens, and you guys will get to see what happens so that you can learn from my experience whenever you do this kind of a build. Alright, so I've already disconnected the main fuel line right here. Now, I've never actually done this before, so I'm not exactly sure how to do it, to be honest, but I'll figure it out as I go. So, these kind of these little guys. Alright, so I got the intake off, which really wasn't that bad. I think I've been working on it for about 30 minutes. But another part of the reason I wanted to take the intake off is you can see all this crap down in here. And it's always bothered me how dirty this was, so I really want to clean it up. I'm going to clean inside my heads a little bit, try to get some of the crap out of there. But this is the oil pressure sending unit. And that's what I'm going to be taking off to adjust or to tap into the oil supply. And you can see kind of why I had to take the intake off. There's like no room to get down in there. So here is the intake manifold. One thing is this is the brake booster hose. There was no way I was going to get my hand down behind there because there's barely enough room to get my hand between this and the car. It actually kind of goes right there like that. So I undid it from the brake booster and just shoved it down in through there. So here's the fuel rail. Fuel rail comes off quite easy. And you can see all the crap. I just really want to clean everything up. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Clean everything up. And then I'll start changing out the fuel injectors. Alright, I had to go and pick up my little fitting, but here you go. It's aluminum, billet aluminum. This screws into your block. Your oil sending unit screws in right there. And it's got a banjo fitting on it. Like this. And then you can swivel this wherever you want it to go. The reason that's important is because on these regular elbow fittings, whenever you screw it in, this could end up pointing towards your exhaust manifold, or I'm sorry, towards your intake manifold, or worse yet, towards your car, you know, the firewall. And there's nothing you can do about it until you just keep trying fittings until you find one that fits. So let me grab the oil sending unit. So basically, you unscrew your oil sensor, oil pressure sensor, which I already cracked it loose with a wrench. It's not very tight. And then this, your oil sending unit, or your oil sensor, screws in right here like that. Put some washers on your banjo fitting. And then I can rotate this wherever I need it. On the elbow ones, your intake manifold is right here. So if the elbow one, if it ends up pointing right towards your intake manifold, there's nothing you can do. Or if it ends up pointing towards your firewall, there's nothing you can do. So this gives you some freedom on where you can put your fitting. So now I just got to go find an adapter that screws into this and adapts to my oil pressure line. So this is the 60-pound injector. These are the 42-pound injectors that come with it from the factory. And you may not be able to see this, but basically the 60-pound has 6 holes in it, and this guy only has 4 holes in it. So this guy flows a lot more fuel than the other one. So time to put in the new injectors. And so one thing I wanted to show you guys is that your fuel injectors are held in place by this little clip here. And that's all it really is. It's just a little steel clip. But there's a groove in the fuel injector right there. It keeps you from putting the fuel injector in too far or letting it pop out. So it slides into the grooves of the fuel injector. And then that groove right there is the fuel rail. And then that's pretty much it. That's all there is to putting a fuel injector in. They've got little O-rings that hold, that seal everything. And then everything goes down in there, and the fuel rail gets bolted down. And the fact that the fuel rail is held in place keeps these guys from coming out. And those little metal clips make sure everything is spaced right. So that's really all there is to it. I got everything all cleaned up. Now I'm just buttoning up the fuel injectors. Alright, managed to find my adapter. Got my oil line screwed in there. And got my oil line rerouted. Got my injectors all installed, cleaned out. Now it's just time to put the intake back in. So I'm just going to let the video run, and I'm going to speed it up so you guys can see. It's actually really easy to get this intake in and out of here, maybe 30 minutes or something like that. So here goes. Oh, you bastards. Alright, as far as I can tell, I've got all the injectors in there, got throttle body back on, got the oil lines tightened down, got the fuel lines back on. So as far as I can tell, I've got everything back together. I have not retuned the PCM for the new injectors. I'm working on that right now. But I sprayed some cleaner down inside the heads to clean some of the gunk off of there. So I want to spin the motor over a few times to flush out all of that cleaner sitting on top of the valve stems. And who knows, maybe it'll start, but I don't think it's going to start, but we'll find out. Spit, sputter, ooh, it smells rich. That's exactly what I expected to happen. And I knew it was going to take a second to start because of all that cleaner I had sprayed down in there. That's not a good sound. Oh, poo gas. It just sprayed oil all over the place. Okay, back to the drawing board. So I figured out why when I started it up it sprayed oil all over the place. I didn't install it right. You see that? Well, maybe if I compare these two. So here you go. Here's the washer that was installed correct right here. Here's the one that was not installed correct. So it didn't seal up the top part of this little fitting. So it sprayed oil all over the place. There's probably a half a quart of oil on the ground in my garage. And it was running for like 30 seconds. But I guess that's what happens when you spray oil everywhere at 40 something PSI. So now it's a trip to the auto parts store to get a replacement washer. That's why I love my house so much. There's a parts store 5 minutes away. So that was a $5 mistake. I had to go get me a copper washer. And you can only get them in variety packs, so. Oh well, at least I fixed it. Alright, finally got everything for the oil fixture, or the oil adapter done. One more test drive, or test startup. Good oil pressure. Oh, stuttering a lot. Check engine light on. It's a weird noise. Sounds a lot like a vacuum leak. I'm not really sure what that noise was. I don't think it's a vacuum leak. The exhaust manifold's pretty easy. You just put it in there and bolt it down. And the only other place it could have a vacuum leak is the brake booster hose, and it's connected, so not really sure. I have a feeling that it's something that the computer is doing because it was trying to lean it out, because those injectors put out double the fuel that the factory ones do, so the computer doesn't have any way to figure out what to do. So the next step is to adjust the computer for the bigger injectors and then flash the computer. So that's what I'll be working on this weekend.